everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of B.A.M Sports and Entertainment. That's Boris and Matt, Sports and Entertainment. And lucky for you, that's our names, Boris and Matt.
Bonjour! How is everybody doing out there? We hope you're doing well. We hope you're staying cool. Boris, it is disgusting in Toronto. It is humid. All right, I left the house at 7:30 and I was a mistake. It's already disgusting. You can bump your head on the air. Thick, humid day in Toronto.
Oh yeah, you can just feel it in the air, like between headaches and lack of sleep and everything. It's just absolutely nasty week. But you know what? We have the content that's going to cool you off, because on this week's B.A.M Sports and Entertainment, we actually have so much wrestling talk, so much pro wrestling talk, that we are going to forego the sports chat and we're going to get straight into the sports entertainment, because we have not one, not two, but 3 Ring of Honor shows to chat about. And then we have a crazy episode of primetime wrestling. That is the Macho Man, Randy Savage, bachelor party from 30 years ago in the lead up to the match made in heaven. And funny enough, we're also going to be talking about Summerslam 1991. And it was billed as the match made in heaven, match made in hell, double main event, double special.
Yeah, it was a very interesting show. We're going to go back 30 years ago today, as of the day we're recording this. August 26, 1991 was the date of SummerSlam 91, live from Madison Square Garden. Very memorable show, classic wrestling match on it, and a lot to talk about. So we're going to go back in time, just briefly gloss over that. And like you said, we're also going to talk about the Macho Man bachelor party, which was insane.
So by classic wrestling match, you mean the jailhouse match, right?
Of course, the Mountie, Boris. Of course, I mean the great Mountie. He always gets his man.
Exactly. And not Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart.
Whom? Mr. Perfect? No, I'm not familiar with his work. No, of course, Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart. One of the great matches in the history of the WWF. One of the best matches of the 1990s. And you can argue it's not even their best WWF match or their best pay-per-view match of the 90s, because King of the Ring 93, they also had a banger. But we'll get into the finer points of that later on. Yeah, sports a little it's the dog days, Boris, and we have so much to talk wrestling wise. We're gonna skip the sports chat just for this week, though. We'll be back in like full force next week.
Yeah, because next week we're going to be chatting NFL. We're going to be chatting. Yes. We're going to have a clear picture of the MLB playoff race and, the lack of Toronto Blue Jays in it. But there's so much to talk about next week. But this week we just have so much. We wanted to take a retro look. It just, the calendar worked out perfect for us to chat about 1991. 1991 was a crazy year in WWF, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Mateo, how's everything going?
Oh, life is good, other than the fact that it's just disgusting. It's really hot in my apartment. We need air conditioning. I don't have any yet. That's going to be rectified next year, I feel like. We might just wait it out at this point. But man, yeah, just pretty gross. But yeah, life is good. Staying in high spirits, trying to stay hydrated. Very busy with work and Operation Sports and stuff. I just put out an NHL 22 video, and I have another one coming fairly soon about WWE 2K22. It's already in the can, just a matter of when it's posted. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for those. Give them some views and some thumbs ups and a subscribe. That'll help me greatly. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Just a question about WWE 22. Is that game, has it been officially delayed, or is that still just
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Officially, it will be released in March 2022. And Boris, I made this point in the video. I am very much okay with that. Take all the time you need, rebuild this broken game. And we're hearing good things. There is rumors that WWE and 2K are kind of not pleased with each other, because WWE wanted the game released in October. And 2K wisely is actually taking their time with it, which is something they don't often do. Like NBA 2K22, for example, people are pretty pissed about that being kind of like forced out very early. It's coming very soon, and people are worried that it's not going to be ready. So
Yeah, you know what's funny about that, and this is kind of like my take, and this is going to be our geek talk before we move on to other stuff. And that's that, like, you know, if you take a look at the video game industry right now, everything is being delayed. Halo was delayed a year. Cyberpunk 2077 should not have come out. Everything is being delayed. The Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga, delayed indefinitely until like this week. Are we getting a better idea of a time frame? But that's the thing, it's a time frame. Barely anyone is giving us dates right now for releases. There's many reasons for this, right? New systems, new APIs, new technology to learn. COVID has kind of done a thing for technical people. I can tell you from my life, adjusting to working remotely, not myself, but everyone else working remotely has been a hell of a thing. And the last people who get to work remotely are developers. And, they're actually working remotely, but setting up a system for them to work remotely sometimes takes a really long time. So those are like the things that you can't really measure, the intangibles, as they like to call them, my friend. These things, and then the technology portion of stuff. You have the next gen systems that seem to, these companies really want to embrace that tech, and it just takes a little time for you to get used to it. So it's inevitable for there to be a lot of delays. So for me, it's crazy to think that, like, those games that come out every year, like your Maddens, like your NBAs, like your 2Ks, that they're still coming out on time. But as you know, these games are having a lot of issues right now.
Big time. Yeah. Like, people. Well, you saw WWE 2K20. That was rushed to come out at its like given date, and the game was so bad that they had to like completely like retool the franchise from the ground up. Basically, it was so reviled, so terrible. And yeah, Madden is basically getting worse every year. 2K starts kind of unplayable and patches its way into greatness, and by the end of the year, NBA 2K is a great sports game usually. But
it's funny that you say that, because when I buy the NBA 2K, every Christmas it goes down to $40, and that's when I find that the game is actually playable. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's when you pull shoot. The best game, if you love baseball, MLB The Show always delivers. It always delivers. It's pretty ready to go. It doesn't take enough risks. It doesn't innovate much, that game, but it's very, very reliable. I think that's the best sports game.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's the Geek Talk. You can always find chat like that at It's Canon Podcast, my other podcast. You can find it at itscanonpodcast.com. Love it.
Well done, buddy. Well done.
All right, man. I gotta ask you, how's the Tinder game going?
No, it's all right. I don't know. Like, I still have my like kind of pen pal thing. We were just talking, like, it would be so awesome if the border was open and we could actually see each other. And like, but at this point, like, we're both, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm kind of half in, half out with the Tinder game. But I've messaged a couple girls here. And that Tinder experience that I met, like, a girl, it didn't go necessarily the best. It was like fine, but it was just like a strange amount of drama. And we had like a 3-week relationship, and I got in more fights in those 3 weeks than I've got in any relationship in my entire life, basically, even combined. Like, I'm not someone who gets in a lot of fights. It was just. It was right. So yeah, sometimes it's just not a good match, buddy. But I don't know. We'll see. It's tough. It's still the pandemic, and cases are going up, and it's not the summer of love that we were all hoping for.
Yeah, it's certainly not. It's it's far from it. But it's kind of funny that you say that, because it's like sometimes, at least you recognize the warning signs there, man. My ex, it was just insane. I should have ran within the first month. But, sometimes you're an idiot and you try to pull it through, and next thing you know, 2 years later, you're still fighting, and then anything wrong that's ever happened to her since you met her is your fault.
Oh no, Boris, we're getting down to a slippery slope here, buddy. But yeah, no, you just gotta keep taking at bats, buddy, and then eventually you're gonna find the right person.
Exactly,
that's how it works. I believe.
Hey, you might even be lucky enough to find a gal who likes the wrestling. You never know.
Yeah. You know what's really funny, man? I gave up on wrestling, like full stop in 2007 after Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit was one of my heroes, man. And he was a Canadian hero. And people like love that guy. And when he did what he did, it was like, oh man, this wrestling business, maybe I'm wrong about this shit. Like this is a pretty grotesque thing. And then around 2010 or 11, I dated a girl who actually did really like wrestling in the Attitude Era. And she was a big wrestling fan. And that was part of like our bonding experience, was like getting into wrestling again together. And I have been back on the wagon ever since. Although it's funny, our guy was Alberto Del Rio. He was like we are each other's ringtone and stuff. He was our favorite wrestler. That did not age well, Boris.
Oh Lord. That is funny. That is funny.
Much like that relationship, ultimately, it did not age well. She's a great girl, though. We're still friends. I like her a lot.
That's so funny. That is so funny. Yeah, no, it's been it's just crazy times all around. But yeah, it's also, at least for me, dating in the big city, it's quite interesting always. You never know what you're gonna find under those rocks and around the corners and whatnot. But it is what it is. So Matt, I think we should get started because we have a lot to go through, and I left something off of the top of the show.
Yeah, something very important. We'll put it in the description. But Boris, you had a chat with someone in the wrestling business, rising young star, the shining star, in my opinion, of the NWA promotion.
Yeah, exactly. And we are talking about COLBY CORINO. If you recognize the name CORINO, there's a very good reason. That's because this is the son of Steve Corino. And, we had a great chat yesterday. You can find the full story at slamwrestling.net. That's where it's going to be. But, I can play a bit of the interview here. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. Straddle up. Have fun, and we'll be back in a second. Thanks so much for taking some time talking with us at Slam. There seems to be so much going on, and it's such a fun time. Really exciting stuff happening in wrestling in general. So this is like a perfect timing. I'm sure that having a dad that's known, especially during the Attitude Era, the ECW era, did that add pressure to you to get into the business? Like, did you kind of feel like you had to be better than everyone else, or talk to me about your experience of getting into the business. I know you started training at such a young age, so it kind of feels like it was kind of inevitable for you to be in the business.
I was actually never pushed to actually be in the business, but my dad was super supportive of my decision to go. I've loved wrestling from such a young age. I was always going. My first wrestling show was when I was 3 weeks old. I went to my first ECW show. So from the time I was a very small child, I was already going to all the shows and getting in on the life. So it was like you're saying, it felt like it was inevitable that I would end up being a wrestler. But it's not because I felt pressured to or anything. It's just because I wanted to.
The passion was there, right? And it's clear, like I said, you started training at such a young age, and it kind of sounds like, you were supported. I know that officially you weren't trained by your dad. Can you tell me kind of who trained you and kind of, how long it was before you got into your first few shows and whatnot?
So actually it's a little backwards. I probably had my first real matches before I had any real training. Someone actually has been posting on YouTube a lot of matches I had from when I was 4 years old, 5 years old, tag matches I've had with my dad from this promotion called UWC in New Jersey. And I consider my real debut when I was 12 years old. And that's when I really started taking it seriously and and really learning about it. And after that first match when I was 12 years old, I started traveling a little bit more and training before shows with Mike Keener, who was originally a ref in ECW back in the day. If you go back and watch all the old tapes of ECW, MLW, there's Mike Keener right there in the ring. But he taught me a whole lot. I've also learned a lot from Brutal Bob Evans from Ring of Honor fame. He also taught me a lot.
Life on the road for you. How is do you travel alone? Do you travel with your family? Kind of how many shows do you tend to do in a week?
I try not to overwork myself, but now that everything's opening back up, I'm definitely getting myself a little ahead of myself and wrestling like 2 or 3 times a weekend. But I try to travel with my family. I like spending time with my son and my fiance. They like to go to the shows and stuff. So yeah.
2020 must have just been like a real, for lack of a better word, and pardon my French, shit show.
It was definitely something, and we try to adjust in wrestling. Like the promotion that I work a lot with in North Carolina, and the school that I help train at, PWF and CWA. Like we were doing a lot of like studio tapings with no fan, and it's so much different than wrestling without a crowd. Like I got so used to it over the past year that like when I finally started wrestling in front of crowds again, it felt weird again, you know. But it's so much. Like the fans are just such an essential part of wrestling. Like it's hard for me to watch wrestling on TV where there's no fans at all. Like not having the sound and not having the reactions there, it's like it feels like I'm missing an integral part of what's going on in the ring.
There are probably some wrestlers who have never wrestled in front of people until recently, right? Like, what kind of advice would you give them? It's like coming from, literally empty arena shows that are being taped to actual fans and people, like just giving you that extra push.
Man, I actually have that problem right now. I have quite a few students that like started during COVID and have never actually performed in front of a crowd until very recently. And from what I can tell, it's like having your crowd there gives people that extra boost. It gives you that extra adrenaline rush. It makes you go a little bit harder because you feel like definitely more on stage, because it's hard to like get yourself into game mode when there's no one there, when there's not people like yelling and chanting and stuff. But when it does, it's like it kicks into like next gear for me.
You've been in the system, you've wrestled, you've made appearances with WWE, you've been in RoH, and done the quote unquote indies. Can you talk to me about kind of like the difference between being in that environment of the WWE system versus kind of, you're your own boss, you do you type of life?
Oh man, there's so many advantages and disadvantages to both. Like the corporate wrestling, as I like to like jokingly refer to it, like they got all the catering, they got the nice facilities and all this, but it feels like there's so many. I'm trying to think of the right word for it. Like there's so much going on, and it's not that it's overproduced, but it needs to be a lot more produced, a lot more overseen than what happens on an indie level. There's where like on an indie level, I feel like that I can be a little bit more COLBY CORINO, have a little bit more freedom with what I do, and I really enjoy that freedom.
Right now, you've made quite a few appearances with NWA. We had the Champion Series. You were in the final match with Sal Renaro. How cool was it that, you were kind of in the match that won it for your team, Team Pope, Team Velvet? Like that must have been kind of like a nice little distinction, a nice little bow.
It definitely, like, I feel like it lit something up in me. Like, we taped all the things in NWA in advance, so I had to be real quiet about it for a while. But once it like showed, like, I don't know, it felt like it kicked something in my mind that it's like, all right, now it's like someone recognizes what I'm doing. So now I have to work even harder because I know someone is watching and I know people are watching.
And that's exactly it. That's exactly where I wanted to go with this. Is like you're being recognized for your work, for everything that you've done. And here you are having that distinction of closing out the Champion Series. Not only that, but winning it for your team and leading into, the possibility of you having that title match, which that in itself, the historic NWA title, like that's got to be, pretty cool, knowing that at some point, you're going to have an opportunity at something.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited. Still not just sure which championship I'm gonna go after.
Yeah,
but I don't know. All the belts have such prestige to me, and like they're all very important for like a different reason too.
This weekend, it is a huge weekend for yourself and for NWA. But before we talk about your Friday night, let's continue talking about NWA. It is the 73rd anniversary show on Saturday night. It is Empower. It's great seeing the women's sport of wrestling just getting the attention that it finally deserves. And I know that, being a part of the NWA, like, talk to me about like how awesome it is kind of seeing these women finally being recognized for all of their work, similar to you being recognized and closing out the Champion Series.
it makes me so happy to see Mickie James putting together the Empower pay-per-view, especially when she's like picking out people like Jamie Senegal, who is one of my best friends from such a while back. Like it's people like her that I feel like haven't gotten the spotlight that Mickie James is extending it to. And I really like looking at the talent that she's assembled in all the matches. Like it's going to be a great show.
So let's talk about Sunday, NWA 73. I'm assuming that you're going to be in the Battle Royal. Can you talk about that, or can you talk about the event and kind of and what your mindset is going into the weekend?
Whew. So I'm almost positive I'm in this Battle Royal. So I feel with the Battle Royal, I feel we get another shot at the NWA Championship, but I feel like that's just an insurance policy. I already got like a title shot in my back pocket. So I'm very intrigued to see what the rest of the weekend has to offer with NWA 73 and beyond, and what happens after that too, And
moving forward, where do you see yourself in NWA? Where do you see yourself heading? What is Colby Corino's plan for tomorrow and beyond?
I'm just aiming for some gold. I feel like that a Corino without NWA gold is I don't know, it feels wrong. So I feel like I have to put my name in the history books. I have to get my name on one of those side plates.
Now with the forbidden door open, where does Colby Corino want to go outside of NWA? Does he have plans to show up on Impact or AEW? What does the future hold for Colby Corino?
Well, I can't talk about a little bit of everything, but I've been filling out my calendar just this past week, and the next few months are looking pretty crazy in a good way. Right? Like, if you like indie wrestling, I think I'll be popping up in a few of your favorite places. All
right, there you go. Again, that was such a fun chat. Like he's such a cool guy. He's so passionate. Like, Matt, I wish I could post the video, just because as he was talking about life on the road, as he's talking about his PWF school and his promotion, you could just like see the passion in it. It was so cool to see that, especially on someone that's only 24 years old with 12 years experience. Like, think about that.
No, that's like mathematically that's insane if you think about it for 1 second. But yeah, that's crazy. Good on him, man. And maybe that's the next step in the B.A.M evolution. We got to start doing some video interviews, Chris Van Vliet style.
Exactly.
Fred Van Vliet style. Yeah. Shooting shots for us.
Exactly. That's what we got to do, and we will do. We have so much planned. Right now where we are with B.A.M is we wanted to start something. We wanted to expand, our interests. Matt and I. Yeah. We love sports. We love wrestling. We just wanted to talk sports and wrestling, hence B.A.M. But 2022 is going to be an awesome year, I think, for B.A.M, for both of us. We have so much on the go. And, it's funny because we're so busy when you think about it. But I'm so happy doing this stuff.
Oh, man, I agree. Like, yeah, we're very lucky and blessed. Just got to keep this ball rolling, man. This is the snowball is gathering snow. It's rolling downhill, and let's just keep adding to that big old snowball.
Yep, and with that said, I think it's time to start talking about some wrestling shows that we watched over the week, because there's a lot on the go. And then to close the show, we're going to be doing our preview, our pick contest to NWA. Yes. It's a huge weekend for them, as you can read from my slamwrestling.net interview. There's a lot to go. So let's start with some Ring of Honor, and let's start with some Ring of Honor TV, because as always there were 3 matches, and this was I gotta say, Ring of Honor is always really weird because of its syndicated nature. They often have a TV show as their pay-per-views are literally happening. And now that I'm covering RoH, I was interested to kind of see how they did this. Because I'll be honest, was I watching RoH TV regularly before I started covering it? No, I wasn't.
No, of course.
But, it's just because, for me, RoH, for the longest time, I had a lot of issues with it. And a lot of the issues are starting to go away. Overall, it was a very interesting show, kind of interesting how they did this, because we are still in the middle of the Women's Championship Tournament. There are still some stories that they are building to for their next major shows in September. So yeah, for me it was really interesting. So aired August 21st. 3 matches. The opening kind of went through last week's champions versus All Stars 10-man tag main event, which again, I still implore people to go and check that out. The show kicked off with an interview. Brian Zane interviewed our sweetheart, Quinn McKay, and Roxy. McKay took offense to Roxy previously stating that she would prefer to face McKay than meet Mandy Leon in the quarterfinals because, she wanted the easy win. So, again, I love the fact that they are kind of building tension, trying to build a one-night story out of people who a lot of viewers might not know.
Yeah. I thought this was a clever promo, too. I really like both women are very, very you can tell they're young, green on the microphone, but they both are they understand how to cut a promo. They're getting their personalities across in a very good way. Roxy did not seem arrogant in this exchange. I thought it was pretty good.
Well, also remember Roxy is so young, so this is kind of par for course for someone that age, right? It's why do I want to fight the foxy veteran, right? I would rather get the easy road through the tournament.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly right. It worked for her level of experience. It worked for her actual character and her age. Yeah, I thought it was great. And this is perfectly fine pro wrestling storytelling, like you said. A good little one-night story that paid off immediately in 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And what did you think of the match itself?
It was a pretty basic match. It was from 2 newcomers, but I thought they did really, really well. A term Brian Alvarez likes to use is they idiot-proofed the match, by which he means they didn't do too much. They did a couple of high spots, but by and large, they kind of just kept it simple. But it was still very good. It was a rewarding match. I believe it went 10 minutes and 14 seconds. So yeah, it was a solid RoH TV match, above average wrestling match.
Yeah, exactly. Roxy performed a code red, scored the clear pin. They shook hands before and after the match. So Roxy defeated Quinn McKay in 10 minutes 14 seconds, as Matthew said, to advance to the semifinals of the tournament. I like this match overall. As Matt said, what I really enjoy about RoH, and it's something that, Paul Heyman always talked about, and that's kind of hiding, the negatives of someone, hiding what they're not good at. So you highlight what people are actually good at. For someone like Quinn McKay, for someone like Roxy, who are so new to actually wrestling in the ring, performing matches for TV, you want to keep it basic. And sometimes those basic matches, if done right, they're good.
Exactly. They're perfectly fine pro wrestling watching. I could watch this every week. So yeah, I would put it in that 3 handshake range. Boris, what do you think?
I agree 100% with you. I actually would give this 3 handshakes, 3 code of honors out of 5. All right, match number 2, Nicole Savoy and versus Miranda Elise. Again, this is for the women's championship tournament. What did you think of this match?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to the previous one, although it wasn't as exciting. It was, I don't know, something about it. Maybe the styles didn't quite click to me. I don't know, but I felt it more to be more of an average match. It didn't have the pace, didn't have the excitement. Maybe it was just the youth of the characters kind of buoyed the previous match, and these were kind of just 2 random more wrestlers. But yeah, I thought it was more of an average Mendoza line kind of match.
Yeah.
Still fine, nothing wrong with it.
You know what's funny? You know what I honestly think it is? I think it's because we know Quinn McKay so well in terms of her on-screen persona, her bubbly persona. How can you not love Quinn McKay as a backstage interviewer? So I honestly think that we found that match more interesting just because we knew who they were, and it had a natural setup to the match with that backstage promo. It just goes to show you, right? But this match, in theory, were 2 quote-unquote better performers, but like you said, just something didn't click. I don't know if the story they were trying to tell us just didn't hit us, but overall, it was an okay match. Went 13 minutes 4 seconds, and Elise performed a drive-by running knee and won the match that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I personally would give it more of the average rating. I would say probably 2.5 out of 5, 2.5 handshakes. But again, your mileage may vary. We focus more on kind of the storytelling and the overall thing. Some people focus just strictly on the in-ring work, and I would definitely hear an argument that this match was superior to the previous in that regard.
Yep. And then the main event was Ray Horus versus Demonic Flamita in a no DQ match. This match actually only went 12 minutes, 8 seconds, but it was an awesome 12 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yeah. You know what's funny? It was, these guys are great and it was crazy, but it did feel like they kind of left a little. It was the TV match. It's like they you can tell that they left just a little bit on the table, you know what I mean? It was a regular season performance. It wasn't a playoff performance, but it was still great. Like, these guys are awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But what's I have a question, Matt, for you as someone who watches a lot of wrestling. I know that we analyze a lot, but we also try to watch as fans first.
Yeah.
What type of TV matches do you like more? Do you like the TV match where they're trying to promote something, like a pay-per-view or the next match? Or do you like it when they leave it on the table and just give it their all for the TV match?
Yeah. It's a giant cop-out for me to say this, and it's the worst answer. But both. You need the balance, Boris. You need in an entire TV show, you need a mix. You can't just have a TV show of PWG matches where everything's a WrestleMania main event, everyone's kicking out of every match or every move. But you can do that once or even twice on a show. And I kind of like where NXT is at, although the stories they're telling are largely shit and weird. But I kind of like the idea of one awesome match in the opener, one awesome match in the main event, and then the middle of the show kind of is your storyline, your promo, and your squashes, right? I don't mind that, except, yeah, on NXT, the only problem is the storylines are weird, the squashes are bad, and oftentimes the opening match kind of sucks now, too.
Yeah. But yeah, no, exactly. But that is, one of the issues that I have with AEW, and that's that they give it their all no matter what. And then you have an episode like last night where, it was a little slower, a little more promo heavy, and I'm noticing that Dynamite is becoming a little more promo heavy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you really see the difference in TV. And it's just unfortunate because especially after CM Punk's return, that there were a lot of eyes on Dynamite, and unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of people who said the episode wasn't good, or something like that.
You know what? Yeah, well, yeah, I still think a bad Dynamite, and it was a bad Dynamite by Dynamite standards, but a bad Dynamite is still a good wrestling show. You know what I mean? A bad Dynamite is still overall better than most things that you're going to watch in the professional wrestling business in 2021. So, I don't know. I still like it, but it is kind of shitty that as soon as Dynamite gathers momentum, they put on like a good show and they're about to pop a huge rating. They always kind of under-deliver. It's been like the 4th or 5th time they've done this, where they're about to pop a huge rating and they kind of under-delivered on the Dynamite.
Yep. So back to RoH. Flamita won with a corkscrew moonsault. Got the clean win, 1 in 12 minutes, 8 seconds in a no DQ match. This was pretty good. I overall like this. It's Flamita, Ray Horus, Demonic Flamita, that is. You're going to get a good match between these people. And Flamita is obviously being built up to be the next contender against Bandito.
Yeah, I'm super for it. They're going to have a good match. Yeah, I thought this was, a very good work. I thought it was 3.5 handshakes out of 5 kind of level. I want to call it great, but still very, very good, proper TV main event.
Yep. All right, so we're going to go into the special from last weekend, Ring of Honor, Glory by Honor. It was a 2-night event, and it took place in Philadelphia, former ECW arena, and you got exactly what you thought you were going to get from the crowd. So what I'm going to do is I'll kind of blow by the matches, tell you who won, kind of give you some backstory if anything major happened. But it's Ring of Honor. It's just a lot of random matches with a little bit of a story. And I'm not saying that random matches are bad. Most of these matches were actually very good. But I don't want to. I don't want to take longer than the matches itself to talk about a match.
Right. Yeah. And I unfortunately have not seen either night of Glory by Honor. So night 1 and night 2, Boris, you are driving this bus here, buddy.
All right, so night one, Friday, August 20th. The first match saw Ray Orris go up against Silas Young. We started off with a promo right away because I think that's a brilliant way to start your wrestling show in the 2300 arena, ECW arena, because it's like, you want to get the crowd involved. So Silas Young gets on the mic. He says ROH could have picked any city for this show, but they decided to go to where ROH really started. He called Philadelphia the worst wrestling city in the USA, and he wanted the fans to show him the respect he deserves after he beats Ray Orris. And Matt, guess what happened?
Did he beat Ray Orris?
He actually beat Ray Orris. Like, I kind of, as funny as this sounds, it was a kind of a mini swerve, because how often does the heel go on the mic, talk trash about a city, talk trash about his opponent, and actually gets the win?
That's actually a good point, especially Silas Young. Like, I'm actually kind of surprised whenever he wins in Ring of Honor these days. Not that he's bad. He's great. I like Silas Young a lot, but he's just like he's the old dog, you know what I mean? So I guess they can't just beat him like a drum. He's got to win eventually. He's got to win sometimes. So
yep. Exactly. So Silas Young won at 7 minutes, 58 seconds. As an opener, this was good. I'm going to give this 3 Code of Honors out of 5. Match number 2 saw Demonic Flamita versus Eli Ism versus Dak Draper versus PJ Black versus Mike Bennett versus Danhausen. And the winner was going to be newly ranked in the ROH World Title picture. And just like we talked about during the TV, Demonic Flamita won at 11 minutes, 47 seconds. And, this is the issue. It was a under 12-minute match, and there were so many people. So it was kind of your typical multi-man match. But luckily, like your typical multi-man match, everyone was able to shine. You kind of saw different combinations of people. So overall, it was a pretty good match. But I think that for such a short match, there were too many people. So because of that, I'm going to have to give this the Mendoza line 2.5 handshakes out of 5.
Nice. Feel ya. And I'm just here on the results. Looks like Flamita pinned Danhausen. Love that Danhausen for the victory.
Yep. All right, match number 3 was a women's match. The Allure, Angelina Love and Mandy Leon versus Vita Von Star and a mystery partner. Chelsea Green was on commentary. The mystery partner for Vita Von Star was actually Max the Impaler. I praised her just last week. I really liked the character, because it's rare to see, and I know we see this often now, but it's rare to see a lot of character work with women, especially in ROH. So it was kind of cool that they have Max the Impaler, who's like full character. Anyways, so Vita Von Star, Max the Impaler won 6 minutes, 39 seconds, and it was a roll-up win from Von Star to Leon. And again, this match was a little slower, and I'm going to have to Mendoza line this one at 2.5 handshakes out of 5.
Right on. So reading this, it looks like there was a little bit of a post-match beatdown ski going on here, eh?
Yeah, exactly. And it's I like it just because, the issue with Ring of Honor, the women's division, the Women of Honor, as it used to be called, was that it was kind of like just matches. They're finally giving them time to shine, I still think that they deserve more time, but I like the fact that there's actually stories being told for once.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, the actual storytelling in professional wrestling might actually help these characters become popular and engaging. What a concept, Boris.
I know,
but
right?
Yeah, so Max Muscle, female Max Muscle, Max the Impaler, Maxine Muscle, if you will, tossed Mandy Leon through a table, it appears. They beat down the Allure. Dang.
Yep. Which is interesting, just because it was kind of like, the Allure are kind of like your mean girls, your bullies, and it's interesting to see that they're getting beaten up. But again, Max the Impaler kind of is just a full-on character, so I kind of like that, no matter what the Allure is, they won't be able to be mean girls to Max the Impaler, so I kind of enjoyed that. Match number 4, my match of the night, EC3 versus the hometown boy, Brian Johnson. I never thought I would actually say EC3 is part of my match of the night, but,
Nice.
The crowd made this match. Brian Johnson got a huge ovation. It was insane. Johnson delivered a low blow to EC3. The referee had his back turned. EC3 hit a single arm DDT, his double underhook suplex, and then he put Brian Johnson in the purpose. And he grabbed his hand during this submission, and he starts slapping the hand on the mat. Referee was in an awkward position, so EC3 gets the win at 12 minutes, 51 seconds with some shenanigans, and he beat the hometown boy. See, Matt, it's not just WWE who beats the hometown boy up.
Well, it's okay when you're trying to put a strong heel over. Like you can't always have the hometown boy win, because that becomes cliche as well. So it's not just, you can't just throw it out all the time. Like I feel like this was the time to do it. And Brian Johnson is a lower level character. EC3 is getting the main event push in Ring of Honor. No, I like it. It sounds like a good match. I love a hot Philadelphia crowd. Who doesn't, buddy?
Exactly. Match 5, Bateman versus Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe won 6 minutes, 18 seconds. Pretty basic match. He won with a Spicoli driver and the froggy bow. Nothing to this match. After the match, Dutch actually attacked Briscoe. Bateman joined in on the beatdown, and Mike Bennett, of all people, came out to save the day for Mark Briscoe.
Right on. So it sounds like you're going about 2-ish range for that Mark Briscoe match. What are you thinking about? What would you put a rating on the EC3 versus Brian Johnson match?
I would have to give it a 3.5 handshakes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. 70% match here. Very good.
Yep, match 6. It was for the RoH Pure Championship. Jonathan Gresham versus Rhett Titus. Jonathan Gresham won in 14 minutes, 44 seconds. And there was, pinning combinations. Gresham got Rhett Titus down, used his weight, because he's a kind of, as small as he is, he's a big guy.
Thick.
He's your Taz.
Big, thick boy.
Yeah, he's like your Taz, and he got the pin that way. What I love about, not only do I love the pure matches, but I love the fact that Jonathan Gresham wins differently in every single match.
Yeah. So reading the results here, they rolled around the ring for like a good amount of time doing the British wrestling style spots, and then Gresham just actually won during that melee. I love a finish like that. That sounds like a pretty dope finish. Jonathan Gresham matches are always great. He, like you said, he always comes up with a new way to win these matches. Always has a fun, unique, clever finish. Gresham's a great wrestler.
Yep. I would give this match also 3.5 handshakes out of 5. But the reason I would say EC3 and Brian Johnson was my match of the night is because of that hometown reaction that Brian Johnson got. All right, match number 7, Violence Unlimited versus La Facción Ingobernable. This one was your stable wars. Your boy King Brody, he hit a move that was missed because of a production issue, but he did end up pinning Bestia for the win at 15 minutes, 30 seconds. Okay enough match. 3 handshakes out of 5.
Yeah, lots of plunder, and they missed the finish. Oh, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But such is life in an indie promotion.
Yep. And then the main event was for the RoH World Championship. As your champion, Bandito went up against Flip Gordon. This match ended up going just over 17 minutes, and it was pretty good. Flip Gordon, he's had a few nasty injuries, and he's had to kind of change his style. He was as his name says, he was very flippy before, but now he's more technical. You said his name earlier, so we'll say his name again. He's kind of turning into a Chris Benoit-like wrestler.
Yes, yeah, I feel you. Chris Benoit, a Dean Malenko type Pokemon is this Flip Gordon.
Yep.
Yes.
And Bandito won. He put the 21-plex. The one issue that I'm having with Bandito matches is that it's kind of like Jay Lethal matches. The entire match, they're looking for their finishers. I don't have a major issue with it, but it's every single match.
Yeah, it becomes like a trope, like a crutch, if you will. Yeah, to do it every time is, it's a little lazy. But I've done some stand-up comedy, Boris, and damned if I don't do the same 5 minutes in every set. So I can't really talk too much,
Well, yeah, it is what it is, right? But just because of that, my personal feelings towards wrestling and the way that because I watch so much, I kind of like seeing variation. Hey, do what you want on house shows. Do the same match on house shows. But for TV, it's got to be changed up a little bit. So unfortunately, I'm going to Mendoza line this match, 2.5 handshakes out of 5.
Dang.
Bandito is still your champ. So after the match, EC3 walks to the ring. Bandito and EC3 have a stare down. Brody King walked out and said that EC3 isn't next in line, it's him. EC3 pushes King as Flamita ran and a brawl just broke out to end the show.
All right, so that's night one. Crazy brawl to end a show in Philadelphia. Pretty standard. I feel like it's kind of almost gotta happen, you know, especially when you're in the 2300, Boris. That ex-ECW, formerly the ECW arena, formerly a bingo hall.
Yep. All right, let's move into night 2. So night 2 started off hot for me, and it was honestly one of my favorite matches, and that was Danhausen versus Dalton Castle. So this match had a stipulation. If Danhausen won, Dalton Castle would have to put him in the next Family Feud game.
That's hilarious. No way.
Yeah. Short match. Short match. Yeah. And, you know, I like Danhausen. Love the character work. Love the mic work. I think he's hilarious. I think he's great. But, again, very similar match as always. You know, he'll bring out the jar of teeth, put the teeth in you, do a kick, and then something's going to happen with the teeth. This time, Dalton Castle actually hit the bangarang on some teeth for the win at 8 minutes and 2 seconds.
Nice. All right. Well, poor Danhausen not getting on that Family Feud. But, yeah, you know, I can see that for sure. I don't see too much of Danhausen still. I've probably seen like 10 Danhausen matches and a few promos online and stuff. And I listen to the Danhausen Conan O'Brien podcast. So I'm not burnt out on the Danhausen style, but I can definitely see that. He's like a PG Nick Gage almost. He has his 3 or 4 things that are going to happen in every match, no matter what.
Of all the people you could have chosen, I love that. But it's true.
Yeah. I'm making weird comparisons lately. I might make it my thing, Boris.
I know, right? All right, so I would give this match a 3 handshakes out of 5 because of the character work and just because they're amazingly funny. Match number 2, LSG versus the world famous CB Cheeseburger. LSG won 7 minutes 22 seconds. This match was Mendoza line for me. 2.5 handshakes out of 5. After the match, both men adhered to the code of honor. How's what?
I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt you, buddy. How's world famous CB looking these days? I was a big Cheeseburger fan.
I can't wait for his eventual team up with Leon Ruff.
Yeah. I know you're being sarcastic, but I actually can't wait.
I'm not being sarcastic.
Bring it on.
I am not.
Let's do it.
Yep. All right, we go to the back. Quinn McKay, our homegirl, says she has some bad news for Mark Briscoe. She's playing the Bray Wyatt for the night. Jay Briscoe is unable to compete, so Mark needs to find a new tag team partner. Brian Johnson is just yelling and screaming at people randomly in the back. He walks by the camera. He sees Mark. Mark just slaps him in the chest and basically says, "Tag, you're it."
All right, I'm for it. How could you ever dislike a Mark Briscoe backstage segment?
Yep, exactly. I just want more Papa Briscoe. That's what I need more in my life of.
Oh, man, you remember the fight on the farm? Honestly, one of my top 50 matches of the year, like probably at minimum. Like, that thing was great. I loved the fight on the farm.
Oh, I loved it. I loved every second of it. All right, match number 3, women's match. Maria Kanellis was on commentary. Miranda Alizé and Roxy versus Chelsea Green and Willow. Miranda Alizé and Roxy won at 7 minutes, 47 seconds via pinfall. Pretty simple match. Mendoza lining this one, 2.5 handshakes out of 5.
I'm liking that Roxy's just getting wins, though. Push this young talent. If you're going to literally say on commentary, this girl has the potential to be the Connor McDavid of women's wrestling. She has the potential to be the Michael Jordan of women's wrestling. She better win a lot. Yep. So I'm glad that she's winning a lot.
You know, it's the consistency of what you're trying to tell us with a character and what you're actually showing us. There's a company based out of Connecticut that doesn't do this, and it's why we can't connect to their characters.
1,000,000%, buddy. 100,000% agree.
Yep. Match number 4, RoH 6-man championship, Shane Taylor Promotions versus Incoherence. Again, pretty simple match. Shane Taylor hits a knee on Marcus Garvey, and the Marcus Garvey driver for the win. So your winners were Shane Taylor Promotions at 13 minutes, 17 seconds. This match was a little crazy, but it was fun, so I'm going to give this 3 handshakes out of 5.
Nice, nice. How did our boy Moses look?
Dude, he's destined for something good, something fun. What promotion? I don't know. This is one of the people, I'm hoping RoH, they can't be the Montreal Expos of wrestling. They gotta keep some of these guys.
And actually, win the World Series one of these years. Yeah, man, I feel you. Yeah, hopefully Moses goes on to great heights somewhere. Let's make it RoH.
Yep. Match number 5, Demonic Flamita and Flip Gordon versus Mark Briscoe and Brian Johnson. This match was a lot of fun because of the home crowd. Mark Briscoe and Brian Johnson won at 11 minutes, 26 seconds. This match was perfectly fine. 3 handshakes out of 5.
Nice. How did our boy Brian Johnson look?
Dude, he's so good. One thing about Brian Johnson is he needs to calm down sometimes as he's wrestling. I think we've talked about this on our RoH reviews of the pay-per-views, where he just screams too much. He's always at an 11. You know, you can be this angry character. You can be this I'm too cool or whatever he's trying to portray, but a little more subtle.
Right. Even if you're always at 11, you just have nowhere to go. Even if you dial it back to 10 or 9 once in a while and then go back to 11, that's fine. That's all you need. Yep. Robert Stone runs into the same problem, in my opinion. Yeah, agreed.
Match number 6, Violence Unlimited versus The Foundation. Violence Unlimited won. This match went way too long. Essentially, Jay Lethal and Deppin were alone in the ring. Lethal hit the lethal injection. This match had pandemonium. It had your multi-man match stuff, your tropes, but everyone was able to get a spot in. But overall, it went a little too long. So I'm going to Mendoza line this one 2.5 stars, 2.5 handshakes out of 5. You can talk me into making this a 3, but like I said, it's just too many multi-man matches. This card felt a little New Japan for me.
Fair enough, man. Hey, fair enough. I didn't see it. I can't argue it.
Yep. Match number 7, Bandito and Ray Oris versus La Facción Ingobernable. Dragon Lee and Rush. So La Facción ended up winning at 13 minutes and 1 seconds. Rush hit a running kick on Horace in the corner. So luckily, Bandito didn't take the pin, but he did lose. So now La Facción, Rush, and Dragon Lee are going to make their case that they should be next in line. So this match went 13 minutes, 1 second. I'm going to give this one a 3.5 handshakes out of 5.
Nice. Yeah, crazy lucha tag, I'm guessing, based on those 4 names.
Yeah. And then it was the main event. Fuck.
Vincent versus Matt Taven in a steel cage.
Man, this match went 19 minutes, 24 seconds. Okay.
Oh man, I cannot tell you how much I'm sitting here going, you know what wrestling needs right now? More 20-minute Matt Taven matches, Boris.
Matt, when we were growing up watching wrestling, what would steel cage matches be?
They would be a purpose to keep the match in the ring, keep interfering parties out, and settle a feud once and for all.
Everything that you just said didn't happen in this match. Yes, it was the blow off, but people were interfering. Things were happening. They even left. This match was just so dumb. It was so dumb, and Matt Taven was in it. It was just horrible. Matt, 19 minutes, 24 seconds. Vincent won, and I'm gonna have to give this one 1 handshake out of 5. Too long. Defeated the purpose of a steel cage. And while I understand why it was the main event, it should not have closed the show.
Hey, fair enough, man. I can't really argue anything that you said there. Seems like it was a wire. Like you said, they left the steel cage. We're fighting all over the ECW arena. Seems like they wanted to have an ECW main event. Problem was, ECW main events were often trash.
Yep. Exactly. And again, it was a different era of wrestling. Right now, you've seen it all. You've seen it all, But back then, ECW was new. It was different. It was hip. Also, you and I, we were what? I was 13. You were 10. We were kids. That was our shit,
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 1997, I was 10. So, yeah, right when ECW had already peaked and was kind of going downhill after the first pay-per-view, I was just starting to become aware of it. Like the first knowledge I ever had of ECW was like the WWE invasion in 1997.
You know what my first exposure to ECW was? There was a indie show here in Toronto. They wrestled at a strip club, but it was an all-ages show.
Wow.
Yeah.
No,
it was Terry Funk versus Abdullah the Butcher.
Wow. What year was that?
I want to say in between 97 and 99.
Oh, dang. That's crazy.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yep.
Terry Funk versus Abdullah in a strip club in Mississauga. No
Yep.
doubt.
Oh, man. Anyways,
craziness.
so that was RoH, 3 shows, 2 nights. Overall, I'm really enjoying what RoH is doing right now. But if anyone from RoH is listening, please, 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 number 1, don't put Matt Taven in main events. Number 2, get the crowds back, please.
Yeah, it seems like the crowd really helped these Philadelphia shows. And yeah, the TV show, as good as the promos are, sometimes the promos are terrible. Sometimes they're good. The in-ring matches are always good technically, but boy, you need the fans back. Do whatever you can to get even a small amount of people in those buildings, please.
Yep. All right, so let's move on to our retro look into Summerslam 1991, Macho Man's bachelor party. All of this was crazy. 1991 was generally a crazy year for WWE. You know, it was pre-drug trial for Vince McMahon. But, you know, this is the beginning of the transition of power in terms of who the stars were. You know, we are just coming off of WrestleMania 7. Macho Man is quote-unquote retired leading into this show, hence the match made in heaven. And the end of the show saw him officially kind of come back. Hulk Hogan is once again your champion. Ultimate Warrior is on his way out literally after this show. So, you know, it was a very interesting and transitional time. But then if you look at kind of like the mid-card, you had your Mr. Perfects and you had your Bret Harts who were really starting to make an impact in the company. And then they were trying out new characters like the Mountie, like a face big boss man. So it was a very interesting time in WWE world. So, you know, Undertaker was really starting to gain a lot of momentum around this time. You know, for me, this is kind of like when I really started following wrestling. Like, yeah, I've been watching for a few years, but when you're watching, you're just watching, right? As a kid, this is when I really started following wrestling and started really trying to find where I could watch wrestling, because unlike today, we used to have watch wrestling in syndication, which is such a crazy concept now that you think about it. But yeah. You know, so like I said, this was a interesting time for WWF, especially when you know that like a year later, basically everything would be up in the air just because of the drug trial. Ultimate Warrior is gone from the company. Macho Man is kind of like, you know, in this purgatory, for lack of a better word. And Hulk Hogan was just in and out a lot around this time. So yeah. And then, you know, they were signing people like the real world's champion, Ric Flair, around this time. Yeah. You had Sid Justice coming into the company. So yeah, it was like a lot was going on around this time.
100,000%, buddy. Well put. All that good. You know, summary of where we were at in 1991. It is very interesting because the Ultimate Warrior had already quote unquote failed at the top. Like, he's already gotten the ball, and they decided that they didn't like the way that he ran with it. So they're kind of, like you said, like Macho Man is retired, but they're setting up this angle to bring him back into the ring. Ultimate Warrior is about to leave. Hulk Hogan 1 foot out the door. It's very, very interesting time. You got Ric Flair coming in. You got Mr. Perfect going out. You got Bret Hart ascending up the card. You got Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty about to split up. All kinds of things happening here at SummerSlam 1991.
Yep. So before we hit SummerSlam 91, let's talk about the bachelor party.
Yes. Yes, sir. So yeah, the bachelor party. A big reason why we're doing SummerSlam in the first place is because of the wedding coming up on NXT, the Indy Hartwell Dexter Loomis affair.
The match made in
and
purgatory.
Match made in purgatory, yes, sir. And Dexter Loomis plays a crazy character, and Indy Hartwell plays a wacky character. They have a long way to go to be this insane, Boris. We open up with Bobby Heenan in his dressing room yelling at Jameson. I didn't realize Jameson was in the WWE in August of 91. I thought he showed up at the end of 91, right at the start of 92. He was around for the Royal Rumble, and that was it. I didn't realize how much play. He got 6 months, more than that, in this company.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
Absolutely insane. So we got like the typical like Gene Okerlund getting progressively more drunk and dirty as the night goes on. We got Coco Beware showing up, dancing around. Bushwhackers show up with a giant novelty submarine sandwich full of sardines. Just pure wackiness. We get some matches on the card, Boris. Things like the Superfly Snuka versus the Brooklyn Brawler.
Yep.
We're getting things like Paul Roma versus Tim Patterson from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Don't you know? Canada, not Canada. That's not a place.
I love that.
But yeah, so this is just absolute insanity. So it is worth watching if you like crazy campy WWE 90s stuff, because this is some of the like great lost WWE content. Like I'd never seen or heard of this until I was like Googling SummerSlam 91 stuff, and this came up. Watched it. It was great. So there are a couple huge storyline things in here though. For one, we see Jake the Snake Roberts trying to get into the Macho Man's bachelor party, Boris, and being denied. He is turned away at the door. And then they go back to the studio where this is happening in the primetime studio, where Macho Man Savage straight up says, well, you know, I don't like snakes. Yeah, so the Snake Man is not invited because with him he brings the snake. Yeah. So anyway, sorry I had to work in the impression.
You had to. Number one. I loved it just because, like, you know, I feel like as a kid, this would have been awesome to watch, just because this literally set up why, you know, stuff happened, right? Like it's crazy
exactly.
That yeah, it's like, man. Oh man. And number two, I know that Macho Man had a legit fear of snakes. So I feel like that was more of a shoot, that little promo that you just cut, as opposed to, you know, anything scripted.
Which is all the more insane that they did the Cobra bite a couple months down the road. Anyway, so yeah, Boris, this is just a full-on party. We get things like slick twerking. We get things like a large lady jumping out of a cake and chasing down Bobby the Brain Heenan, because that's comedy in 1991, Boris.
You know what's funny?
And then, of course, we get the... Go ahead.
So sorry for cutting off. What I always find funny is that, let's think of the year. It's 1991, right? And this is a variety show, for lack of a better term, right? With skits and random stuff going on. And we always make fun of WWE being behind the times. Think of this. This is my theory. Vince McMahon watched an episode of SNL for the first time and he wanted to recreate it. Boom.
Maybe, because it was a pretty cheesy, pretty wacky. This is like prime Dana Carvey years, prime church lady years of SNL. So, Boris, I think you might be onto something. We got more matches like Barbarian versus Jim Powers. I actually did like and thought that we got a 3-star match on the show. Kato with Mr. Fuji versus Marty Jannetty. I actually really like that. Marty Jannetty, one of the great underrated wrestlers of all time. Really, really good. He is the only problem with Marty Jannetty is that he got in his own way at every twist and turn. But yeah, so just a crazy, and he still does to this day. We got a funeral parlor segment with The Undertaker. Lots of 1991 in this show. But yeah, the big takeaway here, Boris, is we got a storyline explanation for why Jake the Snake was so pissed at the Macho Man. And yes, it's cheesy. Yes, it's dumb. But it's better than nothing. It's better than him just showing up, because Jake the Snake was technically a babyface at this time until the segment with the Cobra in the box, where he just randomly gifted Macho Man and Elizabeth a present, which was a king cobra, right? So, but this, we kind of have a storyline explanation for it now. So, I guess we had it then in 1991, but I was not aware of it. So, Boris, I actually quite like this. I would definitely recommend it to anyone who likes cheesy 1990s wrestling goodness. It's out there on the YouTube.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the big show itself. WWF SummerSlam 1991 from Madison Square Garden, August 26th, 1991.
Yes. Vince McMahon classic nuptials turn to napalm. Oh my God, just classic Vince McMahon. The Triangle of Terror, Sergeant Slaughter, Colonel Mustafa, formerly the Iron Sheik, and General Adnan taking on Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan in the main event. So the first match was a 6-man tag. British Bulldog, Ricky Steamboat, and the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich versus Power and Glory and Warlord. I thought this was, pretty good 1990s tag. It was, all action in the 1991 kind of way, right? You're not getting like 630 splashes and hurricane ranas, but you're getting a lot of Texas Tornado and some good Ricky Steamboat selling. That's why he's there. That's what he's there for. I would put this at a 3 napalms out of 5, Boris. 60% napalm percentage on this one.
Thinking about the competitors in this match, it's kind of like these are the 6 guys who opened every pay-per-view between 91 and 92.
It's so true, eh? Yeah, it's absolutely hilarious. Power and Glory were a great tag team. They were a fun squash and jobber kind of tag team. One of the best finishers ever in wrestling, the Powerplex.
Yep.
All right, then we got the real main event of this show. One of the best matches of the 1990s. Arguably the best match of Mr. Perfect's career. I'd say I can name you 2 or 3 better probably, but it's up on that list. One of the best matches of Bret the Hitman Hart's career. Intercontinental title, Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart. Bret Hart wins his first title in WWE. Better people than I have waxed poetic about this match. You can find literally like 40-minute YouTube videos about this match. This is an all-time classic. 4.5 napalm bombs out of 5, 90%, A+, all-time shit. Watch this match if you haven't in a while.
Yep. I absolutely love the ending of this match when Mr. Perfect was trying to get all foxy and Bret Hart ends up ripping his tights off and he just kind of wears them along with the belt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so good. It's like his trophy. He took the trophy from Mr. Perfect. Also, this is a low-level version. Perhaps it's like, I don't know why I'd even say low-level. This is right on par with Shawn Michaels versus Steve Austin from WrestleMania 14. In terms of, that one of the competitors here, in this case, Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, is in dire pain. You can see that he's a little thicker in the body than he usually is because he hasn't been doing cardio because his back is completely ruined. He hasn't been working out like he usually does. And you can just see how much pain he is in. Like, if you're really looking for it, you can see that Mr. Perfect is struggling, but you wouldn't know it because it's still such an incredible performance, but you can just see he's in pain, man.
Yeah. And this is the match that arguably made Bret Hart a real legit singles wrestler. Just from the whole story, the whole wrestling match with him and Mr. Perfect, and having his parents at ringside, like everything about this it just screamed babyface and superstar.
It was the storytelling in the match too, because he was the first man to kick out of the Perfect Plex. I think they said that on commentary. Now it's possible that Hulk Hogan did it 6 or 7 times, actually, if you think about it. Maybe the Ultimate Warrior did it too, but they said that on commentary. So that was the story they were telling. And the way that he applied the sharpshooter, I thought was genius. Mr. Perfect hits him with a leg, tries to hit him with a leg drop to the groin, but Bret on the ground catches Perfect's leg, ties him up in a grapevine, throws him over, boom, sharpshooter. Perfect taps immediately, A, because he didn't want to be in that hold because he was in great pain, but B, because they were putting Bret Hart over, and that move made him look like $1 million, and he kind of in this match took the title of the master technician, the best technical wrestler in the company, from Mr. Perfect. He kind of like outclassed Mr. Perfect. He is now the most perfect technician in the company. Just a genius wrestling match. Just beautiful, classic stuff. 4.5, easy.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
All right. Next, we have a match that was not beautiful or genius. the Bushwhackers with Andre the Giant versus the Natural Disasters with Jimmy Hart. You can't find a worse matchup on paper. Even in 1991 WWF, this might be the worst matchup they can do on paper.
Dude, honestly, I remember watching this as a kid and thinking Andre the Giant does not look good.
No, man. Yeah, he looked old and sickly, and truthfully, he would pass away 2 years down the line. So, yeah. But like this was I think his last WWF pay-per-view appearance, was it not?
I want to say yes, but I don't recall.
Yeah. I think it was. Anyway, it went 6:30. It felt at least twice that long. It's 1 star, and that is even being generous. 1 napalm out of 5. Big fail. Next, we had a match that went way too long, but it was still pretty good. Ted DiBiase versus Virgil for the $1 million title. This is the crowning moment for Virgil. The highlight of his career. He wins the $1 million title in 13 minutes. It felt like 20. It went way too long. They ran out of stuff to do. But you know what? The storytelling was such. The moment was such. I can't call it any less than 3 napalm bombs out of 5. Definitely one of the good feel-good moments of early 90s WWF.
It's so true. Just because, like, I love the storytelling in this match, and even within the match, it was kind of like Ted DiBiase, even in the match, was making Virgil look stupid and feel stupid and treated him like nothing more than, his servant. And the commentators did a great job of building up the story, and it kind of made up for a lack of Virgil's wrestling abilities. But I just remember as a kid loving this. As an adult, I'm just like, all right, can we get this over with?
Yeah, I can 100% see both sides of that. But yeah, this one was for the kids. This was the underdog story. Rowdy Piper was too annoying though. He was definitely rowdy on commentary, losing his mind for Virgil in this one.
He was on something that night.
He was on 1 or 2 or 5, yes. Next, we had another perfect example of probably a below average match in the ring, but just a classic bit of storytelling. Jailhouse match. Big Boss Man versus the Mountie, Boris.
Dude, this match was okay, but the MVP, the star of the show, was the Mountie. Dude, the skits throughout the night after this was just gold.
And not everyone aged well. Specifically the last one at the end of the show. It was just homophobic trash, just 1991. But honestly, a couple of these skits, they held up. Like, they were funny to this day. I laughed out loud at 2 of them. Like, the first time you see Mountie just being dragged, I laughed because he's so crazy. And then, you want a finger? Here's a finger! And he gives the classic, the middle finger. I thought that was great as well. Jacques Rougeau's a funny dude, man. He's an engaging speaker. You see him in shoot interviews. He's a little cocky. He's a little, well, everything I did, it was the best, of course. But you know what? I actually love Jacques Rougeau. He's an engaging speaker and a heck of a wrestler for the 90s.
Yeah.
So I couldn't look myself in the mirror and say this was less than 3 napalms out of 5. Classic bit of wrestling promo shenanigans at the end.
Yeah, Jacques Rougeau. If you ever have the time, YouTube any one of his stories, because this guy will always tell the story of when he beat up the Dynamite Kid. He is just to this day proud of that fact.
Oh, absolutely. Even he toned it down and he seemed a little reserved in the dark side, but he still got it in. He still told you that he beat the shit out of the Dynamite Kid in the Dynamite Kid's dark side. So yeah, he's proud of it. Okay, so this was a match that would have been awesome 4 years down the road, would have been awesome in WCW, would have been awesome in any other company at any other time, but in 1991 WWF, they weren't doing weapons and plunder and interesting things. So we got a no DQ match, Nasty Boys versus LOD for the WWF Tag Team titles. Pretty much the most neutered, most basic no DQ match you'd ever see. I'm going to give it 1 napalm bomb out of 5, but the Doomsday Device did grant the Legion of Doom their first tag team title in WWF. Man, going through this card, this is such a feel-good show, eh? Not only...
Well, that's the thing, right? Remember, 4 pay-per-views a year, so your fate, this is the big pay-per-views were typically when your faces won the program.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And yeah, they were getting face wins here. So I would say that was about 1 Napalm Bomb, another one Napalm Bomb coming up here. Greg the Hammer Valentine versus another new character in 1991 WWF, Erwin R. Shyster, IRS, the evil tax man. So IRS was arguably the most boring and generic wrestler of the 90s. Like, just a ton of long abdominal stretches, grabbing the rope, very slow. And he's wrestling Greg Valentine, whose entire gimmick is that he doesn't get going until the 15th minute of a match. Like, he is the slowest of slow wrestlers. So this was very, very boring 1990s superstars kind of match. IRS wins in 7 minutes. We're going 1 Napalm Bomb out of 5 for that one as well. All right, Boris, then we had the match made in heck. Colonel Mustafa, General Adnan, and Sergeant Slaughter versus Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. Another bad match on this feel-good show, and we've heard the story of this match told a million times. Ultimate Warrior runs backstage after the run-in, and then all of a sudden he's fired, and he doesn't show up again until WrestleMania 8. But the actual in-ring match is something that you don't ever need to see. 12 minutes, 40 seconds.
Also,
Hogan.
hold on. You forgot that there's a special guest referee.
Oh, that's a really good point, buddy. I did actually forget because so little happened with it. But yeah, Sid Justice was the special guest referee. Thank you for pointing that out. Sid Justice, the special ref in this match. Yeah, so heels cheated a lot. Sid, of course, did a little bit to stop them. Then Hogan threw powder in Sergeant Slaughter's face. Big boot, leg drop. And they won in 12 minutes and 40 seconds. Pretty bad match, but the crowd loved it. The crowd was super into it. It was exciting to see Hogan and the Warrior together for once. So I would go as high as 2 out of 5, 2 napalms out of 5, just because the crowd was so into it, and this did effectively blow off the Sergeant Slaughter Hulk Hogan storyline. Now, before we go
blew off Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, exactly. Before we go any further, I wanted to touch on the Desert Storm match, Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. They did a bunch of Desert Storm matches around the loop. There's one specifically, June 3rd, 1991, from MSG. Also on the YouTubes. That's an awesome match. That's a top 5, top 10 Hulk Hogan match. 4 1/4, 4.5-ish kind of napalm bombs kind of match. It's an all-time classic. Check that one out. That should have been the main event of SummerSlam 91. Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter, Desert Storm match, specifically the June 3rd, 1991 match from Madison Square Garden.
Yep, beauty, man. Yeah, it's such a weird time in WWF because it's like when you think of the names like Sergeant Slaughter, first off, Sergeant Slaughter being a heel still to this day amazes me.
So weird.
And then you had like your WWF newcomers and Sid Justice, Ric Flair, Undertaker was really just getting started around this time. You had IRS, and yeah, it was just such a weird, like the beginning of the transition, in my opinion, was around this time.
Absolutely. Typhoon just started. Tugboat turned heel on the Bushwhackers to become Typhoon, which broke my little heart. I was just so confused why Tugboat would do such a thing.
Yep.
But absolutely crazy. So and of course we finished SummerSlam 1991 with the match made in heaven, Randy Savage and Elizabeth's kayfabe wedding. They had been married in real life since I believe like the mid 80s, right? Like 84, 85, right around the time that Savage came to WWF. They got married in real life.
Something like that.
And this was like, Boris, like the most straight up, straightforward pro wrestling wedding of all time. There were no shenanigans. It was played straight. It was just a gift for the fans. It was meant to be a nice, real, quote unquote, wedding. And that's how they played it. And the pay-per-view went off the air. The actual pay-per-view went off the air with like a big hug and a big kiss and everyone celebrating. Now, a week later on primetime TV, they showed the wedding reception where the famous Jake Roberts Cobra in the Box angle happens. And on the Coliseum video for SummerSlam 91, if you rented that at Blockbuster, like I'm sure we both did, you would see that angle. They actually put it on the video. So I thought that was actually part of the show. I thought that was actually part of the pay-per-view.
Same.
But it wasn't. This pay-per-view went off the air with a happy moment. And this is one of the most feel-good WWF pay-per-views ever produced.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I actually owned this video. It was one of the few videos that, like, well, not few, I should say. One of the many videos that I owned, Coliseum-wise. And yeah, like, for me, for the longest time, I thought that was part of the show for some reason. But nope, they were just giving us highlights of what happened after. I still don't understand why Undertaker showed up with Jake the Snake, but it was a nice little touch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, indeed. That kind of made no sense. But yeah, it was actually Undertaker who hit Macho Man with his urn first.
Yeah.
But before even Jake did anything. But yeah, a very entertaining show to go back and watch. I would also, if you're going to watch SummerSlam 91, or even if not, check out that Sergeant Slaughter versus Hulk Hogan Desert Storm match to see a classic Hogan match. Really, really good stuff.
Yep, exactly. Oh, man. I love these retro reviews, retro looks, just because, I like talking about kind of where WWF or whatever promotion we're talking about was, and, especially my memories around watching that, if it was something that was in my radar. You know what show we got to watch? It was WCW and AAA did this pay-per-view, I want to say like 94, 95, War of the Worlds. Oh, man,
yeah.
It was crazy.
When Worlds Collide. Yeah, it's with
when
the
Worlds
Eddie
collide.
Guerrero. Yeah, it's with that awesome Eddie Guerrero and Love Machine Art Bar tag team match, right?
Yep.
It's Octagon and someone else. I forget who.
That's the one.
Yeah, man. Oh, let's definitely watch that. I would watch that show for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then in, next year is a 20-year anniversary of a certain promotion that we're going to be talking quite a bit of here and there.
Oh, man, I'm both so excited and ready to quit on that after like 5 or 6 episodes. But yeah, if you think back to 20 years before the spring, summerish of 2022, it's going to be a 20-year anniversary in May of a certain promotion starting up, and this promotion will not die. It refuses to die. It's a cockroach, boys.
Dude, it's crazy when you think about the fact that WCW, as its WCW name, lasted shorter than this promotion. All right, before we go, we do have one last thing to go through, and that is talking all things NWA, because the way that we usually preview shows is by going through a pick contest.
Yes, sir. So, Boris, you are a 2-time pick contest champion. We usually do these in chunks, in seasons, from Big 4 WWE pay-per-view to Big 4 WWE pay-per-view. So this current season started at NXT TakeOver 36, and it will end at the WWE Survivor Series in November.
Yep. So that's around 3-0.
All right. Well, we'll see, big homie. We'll see. But so we both went perfect for the first time. It was the first time that we both picked the exact same card, and good thing we did, because we nailed every pick. We are now 5-0 going into NWA Empower and NWA 73. Boris, we have 13 matches to pick right now, so let's not dilly-dally or waste any more time. All right, starting with NWA Women's Tag Team Title Tournament. So we have 2 semifinal matches and a final here. So the first semifinal, Allison Kay and Marty Bell versus Renee Michelle and Sahara 7.
Whew. Okay, so I'm going to have to say Allison Kay and, that one, yeah.
Kay and Marty Bell.
Yeah.
I agree with you. So for the record, I have already written down all of my picks in pen on the side. They're written down, they're set in stone no matter what you say. So I might agree, I might disagree, but that's just going to be the way it goes. So Boris, we both take Marty Bell and Allison Kay to win that first match. Match number 2, the other semifinal, Red Velvet, that's Red Velvet and Kylan King representing AEW versus the Free Babes, Boris, the NWA's female version of the Freebirds.
Yep, I'm going to have to say the Free Babes.
You're saying the Free Babes, eh? So the Free Babes, for the record, go ahead.
Yeah, so they are Jazzy, Yang, Hollywood, Haley, Jay, and Miranda Gordy. And here's the thing. Part of me, my brain, part of the brain that I should listen to, I should say, says that it's going to be a, Allison, the Hex, Allison Kay and Marty Bell versus this AEW team. And, AEW is going to lose because apparently only AEW women lose against any other promotion. But, I don't know. I just feel like they're trying to do something with these free babes being the free bird gimmick of, the women's division.
And yeah, so that's Jazzy Yang, who is the daughter of Jimmy Wang Yang, Miranda Gordy, who is the daughter of Terry Gordy, and Hollywood Haley J, who I believe is the daughter of Slam Master J, aka Jesse of Jesse and Festus fame.
Yep.
I believe that's correct. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to go with the AEW tag team. I think the exact thing that you outlined there is going to happen. So I think the AEW tag team wins this, but Marty and Allison win the final. So yep. I'm going to say Velvet and Kylan King win, and we're both saying that Marty and Allison win these titles, right?
Correcto.
All righty, so there we go. Next up, we have for the Impact Women's title, Deonna Purrazzo versus Melina.
Yeah, Deonna Purrazzo. There's no way Deonna Purrazzo is going to lose.
Nah, not to Melina. I 1,000,000% agree with you. Next up, we have a interpromotional triple threat match representing the NWA Kylie Ray, representing AEW Diamante, and representing AAA Chic Tormenta.
Yeah, this one's pretty hard, but I think Kylie Ray is going to win this one.
I agree with you, especially because Kylie Ray is wrestling Mickie James the next night on NWA 73.
Exactly.
So I 1,000,000% agree with you, buddy. 1,000,000%. All right, coming up next, this one's the hardest match to call across both shows to me. The 10-woman invitational gauntlet. The winner will face the NWA Women's Champion on NWA 73. So the 10 names in this gauntlet are Bianca Corelli, who I believe is the daughter of Santino Marella.
Yep.
Or am I wrong about that? No, I think
that's
that is,
her.
right?
That's her, yeah.
Yeah. Chelsea Green, Debbie Malenko making her return to wrestling after 20 years, Lady Frost, Janie Senegal, Jenna Side, Kira Hogan, Tootie Lynn, Misha Slamovich, or your girl Boris Thunder Rosa.
Man, this one's so hard, but this person has been getting a huge push on all promotions. That is Chelsea Green.
Nice, man. So here's what I did. I wrote down Genocide, and then I crossed Genocide out because Genocide already has an NWA title opportunity gifted to her from the championship series. So she doesn't need this title shot. They are pushing her strong, though. So I crossed out Genocide, and I wrote Chelsea Green. But then I thought about it, and I crossed out Chelsea Green, and I wrote Genocide again, but then I convinced myself that it's going to be neither of those two women, and I've settled here, as you see, with 4 different crossouts on Kira Hogan, Boris. Kira Hogan is my choice. It's not going to be Thunder Rosa, okay, because I think she's going to start this gauntlet and beat like 6 girls and then go out. It's not going to be Genocide because she already has a title. I don't think it's going to be Chelsea Green because Chelsea Green is a heel, and Chelsea Green is going to wrestle Camille, I think, who is also a heel. So I think it has to be a babyface, and I'm thinking it's Kira Hogan is getting this win.
All right. Let's see if your logic works. Watch Bianca Corelli win.
That'd be actually kind of dope. I'd be for it. All right. And then we have the main event of NWA Empower, Camille versus Layla Hirsch for the NWA Women's title.
Yeah, Camille. Zero doubt in my mind.
No doubt at all. Got to be Camille, although I do think that's going to be an entertaining match. All right, so moving on to NWA 73. We're going to start off with Battle Royal. Winner gets a title shot at the NWA National title, and that is Combatants TBA.
Yeah. So I believe that the final 2 people in this match are going to be Sal Ranallo and Colby Corino, and Sal Ranallo is going to win.
Sal! Oh, no way. You know what's funny? I didn't even consider who the final 2 would be, but I have written down here, your boy, Colby Corino. Yep. I think he's getting the push. I think he's definitely the best young star that NWA has, and I think that he should be the one to win this match, so I'm going Colby.
Yeah, cool.
Next up, we have 6-man tag, DePope and The End versus Tyrus, Jordan Clearwater, and the Masked Man, a mystery kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Pope and the End.
Yes, Pope and babyface win, setting up Pope versus Tyrus again down the line.
You know who
I
needs
agree with that.
to leave the company? Austin Idol. I just cannot stand Austin Idol anymore.
Oh man, people love Austin. Like some people love him. He's like I don't know. I agree with you. I think there's a little too much Austin Idol for my take on the show. I don't love him that much, but he is Southern wrestling, you know. Next we're gonna go to the NWA tag team titles. Aaron Stevens and Kratos versus Bestia 666 and Mecha Wolf 450.
Yep. Whew, this one to me is a little hard, but I think it's gonna have to be your champions will retain. So Aaron Stevens and Kratos.
Nice. I was getting worried that we'd pick the same thing over and over. I actually am going with Bestia and Wolf here, just because I do think it's time to change these titles. In the Champion Series, they were kind of playing up a small amount of dissension between Stevens and Kratos.
Yep.
Wouldn't shock me if they broke those guys up. I'm going tag team title switch, Bestia and Wolf.
Right. Just random thought. Did you watch that promo of Aaron Stevens and JR Kratos when they're hyping up Empower, but they did it in old-timey wrestling style?
Actually, no, I haven't. I'll definitely check that out, though.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Nice. I'm excited for that. All right, here's a match that I don't know the rules to. A Brawl in the Lou. It is a triple threat, hardcore-ish kind of match, I assume. Tom Latimer versus Crimson versus Tim Storm.
I'm going to have to say Tom Latimer.
Yeah, I also am going with the boy Tom Latimer.
Love that.
All right. Next up, we have for the NWA National title, Chris Adonis, the former Chris Masters, versus James Storm of TNA fame.
Right. So the way that Chris Adonis won the belt was very controversial. So this being NWA, this being a pay-per-view, let's restore peace and harmony back into the wrestling world. So James Storm will win.
Nice. I like it. I like where your head's at. I think I like your logic, except I think the opposite. I think they're going to give Adonis that strong win to kind of establish that he is a worthy champion. I'm going to go.
Yeah, it can go either way for both of our arguments.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Chris Adonis on that one. Next up, we have Mickie James versus Kylie Rae in a special challenge match.
I'm going to have to go with Kylie Rae.
Yeah, agreed. There's no reason to beat Kylie Rae here. I think she's going to get a big push over these two shows, win both matches.
And there's no reason why Mickie James should win.
I 100% agree. Not that Mickie James isn't great, but, she's the veteran. She doesn't need it. All right, next up we have the winner of the women's title match versus the winner of the women's gauntlet. So in my opinion, that's Camille versus Kiera Hogan. In your opinion, that's Camille versus Chelsea Green.
Yep, Camille's going to win.
Yeah, no matter who Camille's facing, Camille's going to win. She's getting the big push. She's huge. She is definitely needs these victories. I agree. Camille will win. I think she beats Kiera Hogan. And next up, the main event of NWA 73, title versus career match. Nick Aldis, NWA champion, versus Trevor Murdoch. So,
because this is a title versus career match, because of, I just think it's time. Who knows what Nick Aldis' contract status is. I think just because it's time, Trevor Murdoch is going to win.
I 100% agree with you. I thought he was going to win on the previous NWA pay-per-view. I do think it's time. I think he's going to get a big moment here in the chase, as they say, the old building where so many NWA legends did their dang thing. I think Trevor Murdoch wins the NWA title. Big feel-good moment.
Yep. And one quick question for you, Matt, because we are done the pick contest. Where does Ric Flair fit in all of this?
That's a really good question, man. That's a very interesting question. He's going to show up. He's going to do something. I assume it's going to be with Nick Aldis. Maybe he throws Nick Aldis in a figure four or something. Who knows?
Can you imagine if he comes out with Andrade for the Battle Royal?
That would be something. And then Andrade wins the NWA national title. That'd be actually pretty cool. That would be humongous. I do not see that coming.
I don't either, but it's like I'm looking up and down the card unless they do like a special presentation or something. Like I'm trying to see where Ric Flair fits. And I know that Ric Flair is the type of person that if he's going to be involved, he's going to be involved. You know? So.
Yeah, I think he's throwing someone in a figure four. I wouldn't be shocked about that.
Austin Idol.
Yeah. Maybe Aaron Stevens. Maybe he throws Damian Sandow in a figure four.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, but yeah, we're both 5-0, and after this show, it's gonna be there's gonna be a new champion atop the leaderboard.
Yep. This is gonna be good times for sure. All right, Matt, I think that is it. Dude, we did so much in such a short amount of time. But as always, there are many ways that you can find us. You can find us at B.A.M Sports and Ent on the social medias. You can also go to bamsportsandentertainment.com. You can find all our episodes, everything that we do there. If you're coming from the SNME radio feed, I want to thank you for being a patron. If you're coming from B.A.M Sports and Entertainment feed, I just want to thank you in general. Go check out SNME radio because there's so much content. Every day you get one show, one wrestling show, and it's so much fun. If you want some NXT talk or soon to be B.A.M merch, go to ballergear.ca. Everyone, thank you so much. It's been fun. He's Matt. I'm Boris. Goodbye.
Yeah.